There was a star in the eastern sky that shone down on Bethlehem. A few had recognized the sign. A king was born to them, and it drew them to a manger, to a virgin mother's son, who would draw them to salvation, God's gift to everyone. And the star still shines after all this time, as a light for me and you. It beckons us to seek Him, and wise men still do. Wise men still do. In these crazy troubled times, the world seems so out of tune. Sometimes it's like we're living on the dark side of the moon. And if you're feeling faithless and you think you've lost your way, oh, there is a hope that's bright enough to turn your night to day. And the star still shines after all this time, as a light for me and you. It beckons us to seek Him, and wise men still do. Oh, wise men still do. And it won't burn out after Christmas like a candle in the wind. It's a light that shines forever, not just every now and then. And the star still shines after all this time, as a light for me and you. And it beckons us to seek Him. Wise men still do. Oh, wise men still do. Wise men still do.
Who would have thought that long ago, so very far away, a little child would be born and in a manger lay? And who would have thought this little child was born the King of Kings, the son of just a carpenter, but for whom the angels sing? And who would have thought that as he grew and with other children played, this child with whom they laughed and sang would die for them someday. And who would have thought this little child could make a blind man see, feed the hungry, make rich the poor, and set the captive free? Oh, who would have thought this little child was who the prophet said would take away the sins of man and rise up from the dead? Oh, I believe, and I will always sing this little child. He is the King. Oh, I believe, and I will always sing this little child. He is the King of Kings. Many years have come and gone, yet this world remains the same. Empires have been built and fallen, only time has made the change. Nation against nation, brother against brother, men so filled with hatred, killing one another. And over half the world is starving, while our banner of decency is torn. Debating over disarmament, killing children before they're born. And fools who march to win the right to justify their sin. Well, every nation that has fallen from within. Yet in the midst of all this darkness, there is a hope, a light that burns. This little child, the King of Kings, one day will return. Oh, I believe, and I will always sing that this little child, he is the King. Oh, I believe, and I will always sing this little child. He is the King of Kings. Who would have thought this little child is who the prophet said will return to judge this world, the living and the dead? Oh, can't you see that long ago, so very far away, this little child, our only hope, was born the King. That
I've stood on this platform and I recounted in my mind last night through the night the literally hundreds of people now that we've seen come to these altars and give their life to the Lord through the years that I've been associated with this church. And I reflected on the many revivals and camp meetings that I've been in. And I've thought about people and how far down they were, how low they had gotten, how far away from God they were. And I'd watch the Spirit of God deal with hearts and bring people in. Sometimes They were people that had never heard the message. They just made up their mind when they were young. They didn't want anything to do with God, anything with the church. I've always been overwhelmed at this. Somebody that's never heard a sermon in their life. How do you think it is that they can come to a church that they've never been to before? Park in a parking place that they've never parked in before. Come in and meet greeters that they've never met before. Sit in a pew that they've never sat in before. Hear songs sung that they've never heard sung before. See people get blessed and they've never seen that before. Watch a preacher preach that they've never heard preach. Hear a sermon preached that they've never heard preached, and a message that they know nothing about. And then give a simple invitation, and down the aisle they come. What is that? That's the drawing power of the star. But then I thought of how that same star has taken others. I've stood on this platform, and I hope no one's offended at what I'm going to say today, because I don't mean to offend anyone. But I've seen people come in that they knew what they needed to do, and they just kept putting the Lord off, and they would get so close to the Lord, and conviction would deal with their heart, and then they'd finally get to the place where they'd almost build a shell around them until they could sit and listen to every sermon and every song and every testimony, and they could hear everything being said, and nothing moved them any longer. And then I've watched some of those same people that showed no interest during the singing, no interest during the preaching, no interest during the invitation. And then I'd see somebody lean over, or maybe go over to where they were and whisper in their ear. Some of you are terrified of that. Yeah, some of you tell your loved ones, they come to me, bless God, I'm not going back. It don't matter if you come back or not. God's going to find you wherever you're at. I've seen him find people in jail. I've seen him find people on the job. I've seen him find people on hospital beds. I've seen him find people in grocery stores. He has a way of finding you, friend. No matter where you go, you can't hide from the Lord. And then sometimes, here's what's difficult as a pastor. Sometimes you know things that you can't say to anybody else. People have confided in you. And sometimes when I've talked to them about their soul, they're very honest. And they'll look at me and they'll say, well, I tell you why I'm not saved. It's because of so-and-so. They cheated me. They lied to me. They stole from me. They told stories on me. Where's all the shouting at now? Hey, I'll guarantee you the devil will send a stumbling block in your life. And I can tell them 1,000 times over, don't look to people. Look to the Lord. Yes, sometimes they'll even say, I tell you why, because I saw a preacher that preached and didn't live the life and fell by the wayside. And all of that's true. I can't change any of that. But I've seen them name names. Hey, do you know something? You may not be as wonderful as what you think you are. There may be somebody here today sitting in this same church that hates your guts. Join the crowd. They got all kinds of things in their mind made up about you. Some of them, they don't even know you. They just looked at you and said, I don't like you. Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens a lot in churches. People watch people come to the door and make up their mind instantly if they're going to love them or not love them. Hey, if you're saved, you better love everybody. Everybody. I stood right here one day and I saw somebody touched to be the star for somebody else. They left their seat and went to that individual. Now, I'm being honest as your pastor. I wouldn't be dishonest anyway. Shouldn't say that. But as I stood during that invitation, I stood about right here and I bowed my head and I said, oh God, don't let them go to so-and-so. Because I knew how much they hated that individual. Guess where they went? Because that person had told me time and time and time again how much they despised that other individual, and the other individual didn't even know it. All they knew was they had to go invite them. Strangest thing. They never even said a word to them. Walked up, put their arms around them with tears in their eyes, and guess what? That's the person that they came to the altar with and got saved. That's their star. You look back in your life, not only does God use the Spirit, but God uses saints of God. You look back in your life and there was probably somebody that impacted your life, and you said, if I do ever get saved, I want to be like that person. Or that person come to you when you didn't think anybody else knew or anybody else can, but that was the very time that they came and spoke the words that you needed to hear. Hey, Christian, we can all be a star to somebody these next few days. We have seen his star. So they start the journey, but they don't make the destination. They get stopped on the way. See, you not only deal with the fact the star was different, and you not only deal with the distance between them and where he was and getting to him, and you not only deal with the darkness, but now you're dealing with delays. When you make up your mind you're going to find Christ, the devil makes sure there'll be some people that'll stop you. It started with Herod. Where is he that's born King of the Jews? Herod couldn't reveal what he thought, but it troubled him because he thought he was the only king. Now suddenly they're talking about a king of the Jews. The Jews were to be in submission to him. What do you mean a king of the Jews? Somebody's rising up to take my position. He couldn't express it. But before long he had such influence that all of Jerusalem was troubled. He called in the religious leaders. Take a big deep breath, okay? Big deep breath, because it's going to hurt real bad to some of you. Religion is going to send a lot of people to hell. It's going to stop a lot of people from being saved. Because they get as far as religious knowledge goes, but they're not all the way to where Christ is. Sometimes people will stop you, and sometimes religion will stop you. You'll find out if you get troubled by the Lord and you see his star and you start seeking Christ, there'll be people that'll tell you all kinds of things that instead of leading you to Christ, they'll lead you away from Christ and even try to stop you from getting to Christ. So you got two dilemmas here. I'm about done. Two dilemmas. Number one, there's some people that say I'm too far away from Christ, but the star finds a way to reach them. There's some people that get delayed. Bethlehem was 6 miles at the most. If they dropped over the hill, they could probably do it in 3.5. It's on the outskirts of where Herod was at. In fact, you could almost stand at his palace and look right down to where Christ was. They were that close to Jesus and didn't know he was there. The religious leaders could have seen him but didn't know he was there. But when they left Herod's palace, the star appeared again. The star will lead you regardless of how far you are, and the star will lead you regardless of how close you are. Do you know how close that you are today? You're so close that heaven has come down and it's all around you. Christ is just outside the door of your heart wanting to come in. You're that close to Jesus this morning, and all you have to do is look to him, but you're saying, I'm so close, but I still can't seem to find him. I come to church, but I still can't find him. I'm praying, but I still can't find him. I'm seeking, but I still can't find him. I've got good news. We have seen his star. And the star came and rested upon him. no doubt who he was or where he was. When they found him, they worshiped him. And when they worshiped him, the Lord appeared to them and said, don't go home the way you came. Because the star has brought you to the child. And when you see the child, you'll leave a different way.
Something's happening in Bethlehem. From a stable, a lovely light glows within. Is that a baby crying? There's excitement in the wind. Something's happening in Bethlehem.
He was born in Bethlehem. Shepherds declared that angels announced his birth. Now that caused a stir. When men came asking, where is he that is born King of the Jews? We've seen his star and have come to worship him. Herod was filled with wrath. The babe is now a man, teaching a new doctrine with compassion and authority. The people are following him. The chief priests and elders are outraged. There's a mob outside of Pilate's hall today. Something's happening.
Something's happening in Pilate's hall. On the porch, Pilate pleads with an angry mob. In this man called Jesus, I can find no fault. Something's happening in Pilate's hall.
I watched as his beaten, disfigured body fell beneath the load of the cross. His mother ran to him. The soldiers pushed her away. I heard the hammer fall and I knew the nails had been driven and he was on the cross. The scoffers kept chanting. I heard him speak words of forgiveness. There was a darkness over the earth and a great earthquake. Then I heard him cry from the cross, "It is finished." We watched him die, but somewhere deep within my being, I know this is not over.
Something's happening at Joseph's grave, where Jesus of Nazareth has laid 3 days. Very early in the morning, how the earth begins to quake. Something's happening at Joseph's
It's dark. The world lies in sin and error pining. The shadows are conspiring. But a light is coming. The Lord has been quiet for 4 centuries. The prophets are gone. There are no signs to see. It's silent. But let me tell you something. A voice is coming. The patriarchs are long dead. The judges were traded for a bunch of crowned heads. This monarchy, though, consistently failed and misled. No system is working. But there's a new king coming. Man's dead in religion. Legalism reigns. Ceremonial acts which are just simply profane. The law is not working. But a new covenant is coming. The people are defiling. The rituals God is despising. Even the priests are compromising. And the sin offerings, they're worthless sacrificing. Oh, but get ready, because a lamb is coming. The temple is a den of thieves. A brood of vipers are the Pharisees. Same too for the Sadducees. They don't even know there's a new high priest coming. The nations are suffering. Evil is chuckling. And the faithful are left wondering, does God even care? Oh, let me tell you something. Emmanuel is coming. God's people desire a glorious king. The world is yearning for eternity, a perfect sacrifice each soul desperately needs. It's a silent night, but hope is in sight. A most precious gift God is bestowing. The Bethlehem star begins glowing. Let the good news start growing. A baby is coming.